So, some enchanted evening. And the board is not even clear. There's a third act of reasoning. The principle of the act of reasoning, the principle behind it. If two things are identified with a third, then they're identified with each other. So let me set that up in a sort of a way. Bob, mortal, man. Bob agrees with man, mortal agrees with man, therefore they agree with each other. That's how the principle goes in logic. Logic's all about that. And they could be negative or positive or affirmative. They could be say negative or positive, or they could be universal or singular. So the subject and predicate are both identified with the middle term. This is always called the middle term. This is the predicate, and this is the subject. Pardon me. What we're talking about is Bob. So that's what you've got to see when you buy a book. What's the subject of the book? And the rest of the book is the predicate, etc. So you're reading middle terms all the way through. And you know, they can be highly complex. You see, it needs something, say a middle term, which will be, here's another syllogism. Then there'll be another middle term. There's another syllogism. You're needing this one to prove that one belongs to man. You need this one to prove that belongs to man. You need this one, etc., etc. So it can be highly complex. You can have categorical. This is so-and-so, that is so-and-so, therefore that is so-and-so. You can have conditional. If Bob is at home, the car is in the garage. But Bob is at home, therefore the car's in the garage. Conditional. It can be very complex, but it's a lot of fun. I enjoyed teaching logic, especially the way I discovered it with Vincent Edward Smith. He makes it very practical. He uses statements by Karl Marx, St. Augustine, and you name it. Maybe the fellow who discovered the circulation of blood, what's his name?
Gale?
Pardon?
Gale?
No, I can't think of his name. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So the subject and predicate are both identified with the middle term, and therefore they identify with each other. Reasoning helps us find new judgments. The judgment is the perfect act of man. Aristotle said, he who judges well is wise. That's a man that makes good judgments, can judge about reality. You don't hear them saying, oh, so-and-so, 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 therefore so-and-so. But how do we do it? This is how we do it. We'll say, since Bob is a man, we must be mortal. We don't say, you don't talk to one another backwards and forwards. Bob is a man, but Bob is also mortal, therefore so-and-so. You don't talk like that. You say, oh, after all, Bob's a man, so he must be mortal. Or since Bob is mortal, therefore he must be living. Or something like that. We put it together in different ways. So you learn in logic how to set it out in proper form, like this. I compare it to crossing a river on page 54. The subject is Bob, the middle term is man, and the predicate is mortal. But more often in a demonstration, the syllogism is quite complex and may require a complex syllogism, thus, and just the way I just did it. The middle term is the evidence which enables us to draw the conclusion. The middle term is the heart of the syllogism. Therefore, it must be universal at least once. Supposing we said this. Let me compare crossing a river. Say, what we got here? Man. And mortal and Bob. Bob on one bank, mortal on the other bank, and the middle term that joins them both, they've got to be attached to this in some way or another. We say man belongs to Bob, mortal belongs to man, therefore mortal belongs to Bob. But supposing we said Bob is some man. Now we'll use a different example. Bob is happy, and some mortals are happy. Not a very good, well-chosen one. Some mortal things are happy. But do those mortal things, these happy ones here and these happy ones, are they the same? If we said some happy people Bob is some happy people, mortal is some happy people, but are these some happies the same as that some happies? So if one of them is universal, it covers the other. The universal is the heart of the syllogism. You can't have the syllogism without that. I should design a couple of other better ones. So the middle term is the evidence. But the middle term must apply to both of these. If you're talking about carpenter here and happy here, you don't know whether this happy and this carpenter, whether they coincide. You don't know. There can only be 3 terms in a syllogism. Only 3. So we put in note, by the way, the first 2 propositions, every man is mortal. Bob is a man, therefore Bob is mortal. Now, there's the middle term. I don't know whether I mentioned this before. A 26-year-old student who was a newspaper reporter was in my class in Ottawa. How do you know which is the middle term, he says. And we'd be well into logic when he asked that question. I said, the one that's common to both of them. I mean, I'd explained the way I've explained to you tonight, only explained it over a matter of 2 or 3 weeks or something. And how do you know which is the middle term? The one that's in the middle lies between them. And it must be universal at least once. Well, every. And we assume some here. Some mortal. Every man is some mortal. It must be common to them both, and therefore the middle term must be universal. Now, there are about 10 rules, and it's bad logical form to teach the student through the 10 rules, I have found from practice. The students forget the rules, but if you teach them how to analyze the syllogism, it's much easier. So here are some samples here. Every man is composite, and every composite is mortal. Therefore, every man is mortal. I'll show you where to go wrong in a minute. How do we say this in everyday speech? Every man is mortal because he's composite. Or since man is composite, he's mortal. A syllogism can have 3 terms only. Here are some which are false because they have 4 terms in each of them. And you remember we dealt with this, I think, last week. Cats chase mice, dogs chase cats, therefore dogs chase mice. Is that true? Not necessarily. So, yeah, it'd be a catastrophe if they... In logical form, that's how we solve the problems often. Set it out in logical form. So let's set that out in logical form. This is where people go wrong. They don't think things through. What have we got? Cats chase mice. Every cat every cat is such that it chases mouses. Every cat is such that it chases mice. You try, if you can, to reduce this, the copula, to is or is not, and it makes it much easier then to solve the problem. Every cat is such that it chases mice, or some expression like that. What was the rest of it again? The
Dogs chase
dogs. Yeah, every dog is such that it chases cats. Now where's the middle term? Such that it chases mice is not the same as such that it chases cats. There's no middle term. So you've got...
There's no relation.
Pardon?
There's no relation.
No relation, no. You've got subject, and you've got a predicate, sort of there, and a predicate here, but there's no relationship. There are other problems too. This one is particular, this one's particular, which makes it false. You want to skip that just for the moment. But there's no middle term, there's nothing in common. But on the face of it, cats chase mice, dogs chase cats, therefore dogs chase mice. It looks a little bit simplified and, yes, that makes sense. The fact that dogs chase mice is accidental. It's not proven by the argument, that's the point. It may be true, but it's not proven by the argument. The premises don't prove that. The ancients used to leave out, I mentioned this before, the is. Homer caecus, the Romans would say. Homer is blind, but there's no est, the is isn't there. They said is such an obvious noun that they left it out of their sentences. Frequently you'd read something and say, where's the verb? It's not there because the Romans said it was obviously there. It was assumed in everything you talk about. I found it very delightful to teach logic in Latin and almost as identical in French, to teach it in French, which I taught. When I was teaching English classes, which was rare in Ottawa, a bunch of French nurses, I'd take them occasionally for a little bit of a session for themselves, or give them a chance in their own language. They're studying logic in English. And it was a delight. And incidentally, one of the girls, she was French-Canadian, and she came top of the class, although the course was in English. So, there's no middle term. Now the other one, on page 55. No cat has 99 tails. One cat has one more tail than no cat. Therefore, one cat has 100 tails. No cat is used differently in each proposition. You've got to have the terms mean the same. And if it's unfolded, you see exactly the same. There's no middle term. No cat means one thing. The no qualifies a noun. The other way it qualifies a subordinate clause, or if you like, it's a verb. So if you take into account this, that you've got two forms in logic. Every or some. If you're using Bob is equivalent to every. You're talking about the whole of Bobness, as it were. But there are only two, every and some. If you had one, some means at least one. If you had one man doing something, you still use some. Because all you're concerned about is universal, non-universal. Excuse me. So, there's the first thing. Universal and particular, we call it. Now, it can be affirmative. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm writing badly. And negative. Affirmative and negative. Now, if you put all the combinations possible, and remember, there are 4 figures in the syllogism. 4 different figures. Now, I'll explain them. You've got it in front of you there. Depending where the middle term is. In the first figure, the middle term is there. Bob is happy. And the second one, mortal is happy or something. But the middle term is either where the arrowheads are there. So you can have 4 different shapes. The middle term at the end where the predicate position is, or you can have it where the subject position is, or you can have it where the 4th one is there. 4 different shapes. So you've got, is that clear to everybody, do you think, or have I got to put it on the board?
No, that's it.
The, or, in other words, the middle term there, the middle term there, middle term there, middle term there, middle term there, that, and that. If you take into account 4 different moods or figures of the syllogism, and the mood here, every and some, affirmative or negative, you can have 64 possible combinations. And books list which are affirmative and which are not. But only 19 of them are valid. All the others are invalid.
Could you flesh that out in words?
Pardon?
Could you flesh that?
Could you give an example of each one?
Give an example of each one.
Yes. Every bird, so every man is happy. But Bill is happy, therefore Bill is...
We can't see you on this side.
Can't you? I'm sorry.
No, we can see.
Just gonna have to do it twice. Get a mirror.
Sorry about that.
What about those screens that you can put on top of the ceiling?
I'm having trouble thinking of examples, to be honest with you, because, well, I've been up very early this morning, and as you know, what I've been through today. But anyway, Bill is a carpenter. No, every carpenter is happy. But Bob is a carpenter, therefore Bob is happy. Put it that way. Every carpenter is happy. But every carpenter is a man. Therefore, so and so. See, it's difficult. I'll tell you why. Because there are valid ones and invalid ones in each. That's the difficulty. So I'd have to think them through and write them down. And this one, say, carpenter, happy is the one I usually use. Bob is happy, but every mortal thing is happy. Therefore, Bob, does it follow? No. I'll show you why in a second. So-and-so is so-and-so, and so-and-so is so-and-so. This is with the same, this would be happy here and happy here. That's the point.
Those are the middle. That's
Where the middle
I
term
see.
is.
I
See?
Yeah.
So that is that. Now, I drew up, and I was trying to find it today. I couldn't find the thing. I haven't used it for years. I drew up what I call syllogisms. This is called a syllogism, this reasoning process. And I drew up syllogisms, ones that are invalid. And I used to submit them to the students, and they'd argue about them before we'd solve them. But let me give you an example of a negative one, the invalid ones. Elizabeth is not her sister. He's not her brother. Therefore, he's related to her. No, not at all. In no way. When 2 are negative, nothing concludes. It's totally invalid. So there are lists of them. One of them has 5 invalid, another one has 4, another one has 7, but only 19 are valid out of the 64. But there's an illustration. Some men are happy, and some happy things are carpenters. 2 particulars, nothing comes out of it. There's no universal. You've got to have a universal somewhere. Very simply laid out and very easy to do, but sometimes some of them can get quite complex, of course. So this is how we do it, how we analyse it. Let me put one on the board. Let me see. is the way, I'll leave that one on the board. Therefore, every dog chases mice, or such that it chases mice. All right, there's the subject. It's universal. Put a U there. Here's the predicate. It's particular. Whoops. These are international symbols, by the way. Predicate, and it's particular. And you look to find a medium, a big M. There's none there.
Dog is the subject and mice is the predicate.
Ooh, what happened here? What'd you say? I'm sorry.
Dog is the subject and mice is the predicate.
Mice?
No.
D-
Chases mice.
No.
Chasing mice.
No, chases mice is the predicate. So that doesn't work. Now, oh, what's happened to this thing? Misbehaving. No man is a brute. Every brute is non-rational. Therefore, what?
Man is
This is universal, positive, no, I'm sorry, subject universal there, what am I doing? Subject is universal. Just a little bit out of practice with these things. The subject is universal, the predicate is universal. This subject here is universal, and this predicate is universal. Because after a negative, no, both are universal. After an affirmative, this is particular. Ooh, what have I got? Universal there. Predicate. Particular.
Raphael Waters,
Yep.
if it's being taped, we can't see it when we're hearing it.
Okay.
Just a reminder.
Yep. So, therefore,
no man is non-rational.
no man. There's the. Oh, what am I doing? I'm sorry. I'm confusing it all. I'm just tired. Every proof. That's the middle term. It's universal. And this is the middle term. Middle term. It's universal too. Therefore, no man. The conclusion. If there's a negative here, it must be in here. If it's a particular here, it must be particular here. No man is non-rational. This is how we analyze it, you see. So this is the subject of the syllogism is universal. The predicate of the syllogism is universal. So, oh, what have I got in particular? Dear, oh dear. Yes. Yes. Every brute is non-rational. No, it doesn't follow. It's universal here, it's only particular here. So we've got the greater coming out of the lesser. There's the problem. I'm only just giving you an illustration of what we ought to do. You can't have the greater coming out of the lesser. So the lesser is either particular or negative. The lesser must be down here. So we analyze them like that. And they get quite complex, so you have to set them up in logical form first. So it takes a little bit of time to think them through sometimes when you've been teaching them.
That's invalid,
But-
are you saying that's invalid?
Yeah. Yes. Look. This is particular. This is universal after a negative.
Oh, okay.
Universal. There's too much coming out of the syllogism. That's the trouble. Well, you get practice and we can toss them out. I used to have a big long blackboard and I'd start this end and the students would try and solve them, then I'd put another one here, then I was making them up as I went along because you're familiar with them at the time. And then we'd correct the first one, then we'd correct the second one or analyse the third one, etc. And you'd hear the students as they're gradually catching on. Oh, they were yelling for joy. I took them on Saturday afternoons that was a long story, and I didn't have to do that, but I was teaching 125 nursing people from the age of 26 to 60. I remember one of the young men in our faculty, he said, "How on earth do you get to teach all these beautiful women, and I can't get to, you've got 2 classes and I can't get one," he says. But they're a delight to teach. They work very hard. They were all RNs, and they came to the University of Ottawa to get a BS as well. So anyway, there we are. So the idea is we unfold our knowledge like that. When we form the concept, we don't grasp the whole of something in one go. Many people who object to Aristotelian logic, they say, how can you know the essence of a dog, for instance? We don't know the essence of a dog completely. We don't know the essence of a particular person. We can know the essence of man, and there's a vast amount of work being done on that, as Aristotle did 24 centuries ago. But we unfold, through reasoning like this, we gradually unfold what we can, our knowledge. So as you'll see on page 56, knowledge goes from obscure to clear, then clear from confused to distinct. You see that? For instance, you're in a camp, and boy, I've experienced this. Somebody say, there's something out there in the forest or in the bush. We were travelling down to Canberra, the Australian Capital Territory, on one occasion, and something started to scamper. We had a little fire we built, and my mother said, there's something out there. There was too. A little bandicoot. It's like a kangaroo, which is like a rat. It's only about that big. And the thing came over to the fire and was hovering around the fire we had. He was quite a friendly little fellow. But you can see something in the dark and say, there's something out there. I don't know what it is, but something out there. Then you'd say, oh, it's an animal, it's moving. Then you'd say, oh, it's Bob, it's a man. Oh, it's Bob, etc. So our knowledge unfolds. All our knowledge unfolds, and the syllogism, the reasoning process is the way we do it. So we say our knowledge is obscure. There's something out there. Then you'd say, it's a man. So your knowledge now is still clear, but still confused. And then you say, it's distinct now. It's a man. It's a man out there. So we unfold our knowledge like that. And we do it with the syllogism. We understand man. Everybody thinks they understand what a man is. And you get some people, and the amateurs, of course, always know all about these things. You know the way people are. My sister, I know what men are like. Like a certain lady in Niagara Falls said to me once, you know a lot about women, but you don't understand American women. I don't find them any different from any other women.
They just think they are.
Pardon?
They just think they are.
They think they are, yes. But we unfold what we know about women and what we know about other people. We unfold it by our reasoning process. And sometimes we have to form universal judgments from knowing something for a long time. But to understand Bob or Mary in particular, the best way is to try and see things through their eyes. And how do we see it? By loving them, by liking them. It's all right, fellas, just hang on now, don't get too enthusiastic about that. But anyway, so we progress in our knowledge. Now the matter of the syllogism, here we're not dealing with logic fully, we're just getting an idea.
I was just going to say that St. Thomas also said that we can't love whom we do not know.
No, you can't love anything that you don't know.
Right, so the knowledge would come before the loving.
Oh yes, yes. But you get to know the individual through loving. You see, the individual through you unfold your knowledge and begin to see, because you love them, see things through their eyes. So there are 4 ways of arguing according to what goes into the syllogism. The truly scientific reasoning is this. I'll put, say, on the board. Every man is rational. Every rational is social. Therefore, every man is social. Every affirmative, every and every, that's the perfect way of arguing. That's called demonstration. And demonstration comes from two words, de, meaning from, plus monstrare in Latin, to show. A demonstration. Showing from, reasoning from something, from evidence. So, the matter of the syllogism, reasoning, we call demonstration. The proper demonstration. And if you're looking at a scientific argument, as Vincent Edward Smith does beautifully in his work, that is sad man. He had some kind of a joke with the president, I believe, of his university. Said somebody offered him a job. And he was teasing the president. The president said, well, I hope you enjoy the new job. It'd be good to finish up in such and such a date. He got fired on the spot. He decided to go back and do study at some university, crossed the road and was killed by a car. Then later his wife was killed in a car accident. Very sad situation. Like a certain gentleman that was at Niagara University before I came there, I got to know him, he died later. He went up to the president just after he's been there and said, what are my chances of getting tenure? And of course they let him go. They found out he's an alcoholic and they let him go. But, so demonstration. Now, what about the middle term in demonstration? It's certain. This is on page 56, of course. So the conclusion is certain. And this is an appeal to the intellect. The end that you obtain by that is scientific knowledge. Now, reasoning, called dialectic, is another kind. It's sorting out all the basic concepts, as it were. Dia means through, lect means reading, picking or reading. So intellect. Intellect comes from two words, intus, meaning within, plus lek or leg. We get the word law from it too. Picking within. So when I saw before, they said about, I showed you this the other day, Aristotle used this reasoning. The principles of bodies are either infinite or finite. They can't be infinite, he showed that. Therefore they must be finite. If they're finite, they may be first of all he said many or one. Then he said if they're many, they're either infinite or finite. They can't be infinite. Therefore they must be finite. If they're finite, they're either one or more than one. He showed it can't be one, so they're more than one. Then, now that's dialectic. Then he went on and proved they can only be two, matter and form. So dialectic's a preparation for demonstration. Dialectic doesn't make it certain, it's less certain. We haven't got certitude until we've demonstrated. And the conclusion is we get from dialectic is only probable. That's the problem with modern science, that lots of scientists don't understand that. Lots of the conclusions they have are probabilities, not certitudes. And it's also an appeal to the intellect. And the opinion, what it arrives at is opinion, various opinions. Now there's another kind of reasoning called rhetoric or political. And there's a master of this at the moment. Who is it? Obama. He's a master at rhetoric, yes.
He sure is.
For 99% of what I've heard the man say is just pure rhetoric. It's an appeal to the will with no depth. An appeal to the will, not to the intellect. Rhetoric dangles a good in front of you, as it were. Oh, it seems good, this is appealing, and you know, it's not an appeal to the intellect. It may be true, but there's no guarantee of it until you've demonstrated its truth.
Just on that point, Obama is a student of the Saul-Alinsky method.
Oh, is he?
He was one of the best students of the Saul-Alinsky method. And one of the most important points of the Saul-Alinsky method is to appeal to the person's self-interest.
Good Lord, hey.
And that's what he's all about.
Yeah.
But he was a student of the Industrial Areas Foundation.
I watched at the Roswell Park the other day. I watched the inauguration. I had to wait for my ride to come, and I watched it. The director of the outside things there was there. She was enthusiastic. The people were applauding at things he was saying. I said, what the hell did the man say? He didn't say anything. It was all rhetoric.
That's right.
I thought, how empty these people are. Mostly women, by the way, there. I think there was another man and myself. And the room was full. It's the, what they call the, can't think of the name, but the hospitality room. People all came in for coffee. That's for patients there to come and have a coffee if you wanted. And I spent most of my time there, and I was editing the future parts of this text. And I'm doing this, they're all around me, you know, I look up now and again. But, so rhetoric is less certain. It's a very weak argument. It's only an appeal to the will. Its conclusion is less certain. I've left that out there for some reason. And it appeals to the will rather than the intellect. It appeals as a good. And all it is, the end is persuasion, to persuade people. Not to demonstrate the truth of it, but to persuade people. There's nothing wrong with rhetoric, but it's got to be backed by demonstration, not just empty rhetoric. Then the final one is literary or poetic argumentation. And this is an appeal to the imagination. I've rewritten this page. I don't know whether you've got the rewrite. A couple of things I've rewritten there, and I'm sorry about that, but I've edited and found I left a couple of things out. It's less certain. As you go down, they become less and less certain. And it appeals to the imagination. And the end, again, is persuasion. Vincent Edward Smith gives an example of a great English poet, how he published this poem or wrote it, and I don't know how he published it, etc. But he changed a word and changed the whole poem. It's like somebody saying, now Jenna, for instance, during the week, her mother told me she fell backwards on her head. But if somebody else said, her sister said something about, she crashed to the floor. That word crash made a big difference. Ooh, you know, you can imagine there's somebody crashing to the floor. Words can change things, appeal to the imagination. The poetic value. And it's called poetic argumentation or literary argumentation. Like rhetoric is called political argumentation. So this is sort of the four ways you can reason, as it were. You appeal to the person, their imagination, their will, or their reasoning powers.
That would explain what, this is so great, because when you're trying to argue about abortion, what we use is mostly demonstration. We're
Yes.
using scientific arguments.
Exactly.
But they're not on that level at all.
No.
They're staying pretty much in the rhetoric, rhetorical
Exactly,
area.
appealing to the will of the women.
Exactly.
Oh, you want this freedom,
That's
don't you,
right.
etc. Yes. Well,
So they have cut off a piece of their intellect.
Oh, big piece.
Big piece.
they dehumanize man.
But it's intellectual suicide.
Oh yes, certainly is. Well, now we come to page 57, the immanence in the life of the intellect. We're focusing on man. There's so much we could deal with this. But when I was giving this before, you remember a certain person in the class said, "How long does this course go? When do you finish?" Fed up with hearing that. Like somebody says, "What time is it?" "It's 2'6", madam." It's like asking, how long's a piece of string? As long as you want the string. So, immanence in the life of the intellect. We're dealing with the inner functions of the intellect. A lot of stuff we've said before and a lot of stuff to come. Intellect, now remember what immanence means. It remains within the intellect. How does the activity of the intellect remain within the intellect? Look, if I chop wood, my activity's not remaining, it's transitive, it goes out to something. You remember that we started off with this. But immanence, how is the knowledge, etc., the operations of the intellect remaining within the intellect? Well, intellective consciousness, I'm sorry I can't help there, that is consciousness of its own act and then its own nature. The intellect can be conscious of its own act and its own nature. There it is on page 57. 2. It produces within itself the species whereby it knows the external object. When I see the tree, I produce within my intellect knowledge of a tree, the species of a tree, as far as I can know it. What is it? It's a vegetative being out there that's capable of nutrition, growth, and generation. So I'm conscious that I know those things. Number 3, man is conscious of his own nature and that his nature is the cause of his properties. I am rational, therefore I'm a laughing being, and a talky being, a social being, a progressive being, a musical being, an economic being, etc. A human being. In fact, they cook them and eat them. He's laughing, talky, social, etc. I know myself as able to be all those things because I'm rational. 4, intentionality of the concept. By that I mean this. There's a cow. It's a bovine animal. It's ruminant, etc., etc. I know that that's coming into my intellect, that I can understand it's an animal, and that my concept is identified with out there. That's the first intention. The second intention. I'm conscious that my concept is identified with that thing out there. I've grasped the concept, and I know that what it's applying to is the thing out there. 5, intentionality of the judgment and reasoning. That is to say, remember the meaning of intentionality, stretch towards, stretch into a thing, stretch towards. That my concepts are intentional. They're there to make me know about those things out there. Not just there to decorate my head, my mind. They're there to make me know about things out there. So there's intentionality of these things. I know that what I'm talking about is what's out there. I'm not just dreaming and composing things that don't exist out there, but all my reasoning is about something out there. I can remember being on a St. Michael's orphanage that had 100 little boys there, and Father Woodbury was a first-class cattle breeder. It was quite funny. We're standing talking about the cows, looking at the cows, and suddenly a cow did what cows do when they want to do it, and we nearly got covered in. Never mind.
We get it.
So, now the implicit reflection over the judgment. When I'm saying, remember I said before that the judgment applies to the thing out there, we're judging the relationship. That's a reflection. Reflect comes from the Latin, re, meaning back, and flect means to bend. Flectuare means to bend. Genuflection means bending the knee. In the Latin, say, flectuamus genua, when they're chanting the certain masses, etc. Let us bend the knee. Well, the reflection means that we're bending back over what we've drawn the knowledge from. We see it as identified with the thing. The mind knows that it's reflecting. Then there's an explicit reflection over the judgment. When we say, it is true that the book is on the table. We know that we're bending over backwards, and we know the book as the source of having formed that judgment. Excuse me. And the mind is bending back over that and knows that what is formed in here conforms with that, what is out there. So, and it's conscious of the causation of the two premises of the conclusion. We're conscious of that. Number 9, consciousness of the intellectual direction of the other powers. We know that I can imagine this if I want to. I may not imagine this. I turn my mind to that. We know we can turn our mind to different things, that the other powers can obey us. Somebody I heard screaming once, and I've never forgotten it. It was almost a terrible accident. A woman nearly lost her scalp. Fortunately, I got there. And it affected me for hours after. I almost trembled when I was trying to go to sleep. Somebody belonging to me. And Father Woodbury said, tell me all about it. Now put your mind off it and don't put your imagination again. Turn your mind to something else. Don't talk it right out and then get rid of it and think about other things. And we can do that with our minds. Think about a ballet. Think about an opera. Lovely music. And they tell you for sleep apnea, they tell you to not watch television. Listen to good music. Listen to some nice music. And it's much better. Get your mind thinking deliberately on something objective. Or read a novel. Read something very pleasant going to sleep. So consciousness of the intellectual direction of the other powers, sensitive knowledge, passion, and locomotive powers, etc. Then number 10, consciousness of the volitional direction, of the will directing, in other words, other powers. The intellect, its part in directing, or the will in its part in directing. 11, an important text on various degrees of immanence. And that we'll deal with next class. It's a beautiful text. I think I told you this, I gave a lecture on this one night, and there were mostly teaching brothers in front of me. I think there were a couple of priests and nuns, big audience, and an old Christian brother came up to me and he said, Doctor, that's the most beautiful exposition of the Blessed Trinity I have ever seen. I said, well, not a bit of it's mine, brother, it's all St. Thomas, every bit of it. That beautiful text in the fourth book, Book 4 of the Summa Contra Gentiles, and chapter 11. It's absolutely beautiful. But we'll deal with that next class. Now, I've given you Woodbury's translation because I wanted to get it done quickly. I'm not happy with it. I'll have to iron out some of the little errors I've made in it. You know, I don't like cloudy marks, etc., and commas appearing where they shouldn't be, periods running. I'm having troubles with my computer, by the way. A lot of trouble. If anybody could guide me off that at the moment, I'd be very happy. But anyway, it's causing problems in writing these things out. And Jenna usually helps me by reading out the original and then me watching this. And we check back and forth to make sure I haven't left anything out, but she hasn't been able to do that. So, thank you for your careful attention.